Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 806, and today's date is November 1st, 2015, and the title of this episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, we're going to head out to Greece, and it's almost been about 1 year ago that the ECB concluded its largest European stress test. And back then, they said 25 banks or so failed, although the central bank properly added that just 9.5 billion euros in net capital shortfall had been identified. What was more surprising is that the ECB reported that the Greek banks, the Alpha Bank, the National Bank of Greece, and others, had entered a bailout territory. Well, fast forward to today, the ECB is repeating its annual exercise, and they're seeing that the capital needs is now at 14.4 billion euros. And what does this mean for the Greek people? This means, and as we know, come January, they are eligible for bail-ins. And it looks like the Greek people will need to hand over what little cash they have left to recapitalize these banks. And we know sooner or later bail-ins will be coming to every single country. We understand the FDIC, Bank of England, created the bail-in document back in 2012. European nations have the bail-in documents. Canada, New Zealand, and other countries, they're all set up, ready to go. Because when this system comes down, the only place they need to look and the only place they know where there's the currency they need is in the banks. And this is where they're going to go get it. And we can see already from Cyprus, now Greece, this is the new model. And this is why I say, and this is what I do, this is my opinion, do not keep all of your currency in the bank. I only keep as much as I need to pay the bills. Everything else is in either cash, gold and silver, hidden other places. Why would I want to keep it in the bank? I'm not getting any interest anyhow. Now, out in Ukraine, NATO Supreme Allied Commander Europe General Philip Breedlove said the following at a press conference in the Pentagon. We have not seen Russia removing any of its forces in Ukraine. The command and control, air defense, artillery spotting support, personal supplies, all still being supplied to Donbass by Russia. Of course, they don't have any evidence for this. They have no satellite imagery. They have no photographs or video. Basically, what they're doing is they're pushing the propaganda once again. The question is, why would they be doing this at this point if they're trying to push forward the Minsk II ceasefire agreement? The Minsk II ceasefire was not created by the United States. It was not created by Kiev. It was created by Russia to say, you know something? Let's have peace in this area. What motive would Russia have right now to do what General Breedlove says? There would be no motive because this would be a complete disaster. Now, we understand the United States government central bankers are pushing and provoking war all around the world, specifically aimed at certain countries. North Korea, Russia, China. And we know the United States sailed their ships 12 nautical miles outside of the Spratly Islands to provoke China. And there was another agenda that was associated with this. It was to bring in all the existing U.S. allies around the area closer to the United States. Now, because of this event, what we are seeing is that a lot of the allies are saying, you know something? We need more weapons. We need the United States here in our area to protect us. And if we go back in time, China, back in 1947, actually claimed the largest swath of territory in this area. And they had a map and they said, listen, we claim these islands. And of course, other countries like Vietnam, the Philippines, saying, no, you do not claim these. These are part of our country. And the United States got involved in this. And if Vietnam or the Philippines have a problem, why is the United States there at all? I mean, Japan decided, okay, we're going to have talks with the Chinese government right now. But we see the rest of the allies in the region, They are turning towards the United States, asking for more weapons. Now, of course, we know this is all part of the agenda to build this up and to contain and encircle China. Now, we know the United States government, central bankers, their main mission is to get rid of Assad. And there was a poll taken in France from a French newspaper, and they sampled around 21,000 French adults. And what's very interesting about this is that 72% of the respondents answered no to the survey question, should world powers demand Assad to leave? And they said no. But what's interesting about this is every time there's a poll, the governments never listen to the people anymore. Oh, yeah, the people said no, but what they really mean is yes, and they do whatever they want no matter what. Here in the United States, I mean, we have the same thing. People petition the White House. The White House only responds to those that they want to respond to, not the real issues. And we can see right now that the United States government, central bankers, they're continually pushing propaganda and they're making things up. I mean, for instance, in Vienna, we understand the United States, Iran, Russia, Syria, the coalition forces were all in that area for talks. And it came out that Iran said, yes, they agree to remove Assad and have a smooth transition within like the next 6 months or so. And this turned out to be absolutely false, fake, and phony. This was complete propaganda. Iran is out there saying, no, we've never said this. This is propaganda from the United States. And this was never mentioned in the talks. Now, what's very interesting about these talks is they're talking about a ceasefire. And they're talking about Assad and the government. And Russia actually backed the United States into a corner because the ceasefire that they're talking about right now does not include the terrorists, the Islamic State and the other terrorist groups. Now, the United States can't say anything because what are they going to say? Well, yes, of course it includes them because we back them, because there are terrorists, so they couldn't say anything. So Russia's talking about a ceasefire between the Free Syrian Army and the Assad government, but not with the terrorists. And this is a major problem for the United States because Putin is using their propaganda against them. And they can't come out and say, no, we support them, we paid for them. They can't say anything. Now, what's very interesting is the Treasury Secretary always seems to know how much the Islamic State is making from their oil sales in Syria. But what's been happening is Russia has been bombing the Islamic State, which is the proxy army for the United States government central bankers, and they're telling everyone that oil sales now conducted by the Islamic State has dropped dramatically, and they're losing revenue as they continually push them back. And at the same time that they're losing revenue right now, and they're losing ground in Syria, the United States came out and said, we're going to give them $100 million more. Now, of course, they said this to the Free Syrian Army, but you know it's all one and the same. They can call them moderates, they can call them Free Syrian Army, but all this is going to the Islamic State because this is the proxy army. So they already spent $500 million and they trained, 8 people or whatever? And then they went right over to the Islamic State, which is part of their plan. But we know that most of these funds do not go to the training. They're going to the Islamic State to keep it operational. And we can't even figure out how much they're actually giving them because they also have the covert funds from the poppy fields where they're selling drugs around the world. Now, this military presence in Syria eventually is going to lead to a large-scale military presence in Syria because we know that they're sending in a small force, probably trying to clean up a lot of their mess, trying to capture a lot of the intelligence cache that's all around Syria. So they can't figure out, or nobody can get a hold of these documents to show that, oh yes, the Islamic State is definitely a proxy army of the United States government central bankers. But as soon as these troops that are in Syria start to take fire, this is going to basically springboard this into more military coming into Syria. And it's not just going to stop with these, 20 to 50 special op teams. It's going to go further than this. Now, over the weekend, which happened on Saturday, we saw a Russian commercial jet brought down. Now, of course, the Islamic State rose their hand up and said, yes, we're responsible for this. We shot it down, but of course, they don't have the weapons to hit a plane that's 31,000 plus feet in the air. And the only way they can bring this down is maybe a bomb on board, or there could have been a malfunction. Right now, they're reviewing the black box, trying to figure out what happened. And the Islamic State put out a video. And what's very interesting about this video, it was taken down right off the bat, and then the video resurfaced. Now, the video is hosted on a channel called News Live HD US UK. And this channel was created September 24th, 2015. And what's very interesting is there's really not much on this channel, and they have this video. And it says ISIS claims in this video shooting down the Russian aircraft. But when you look at the video, and then you look at the past videos of the Islamic State, they were very well done, high definition cameras. And this video is blurred, because if they actually did it, they would have their cameras standing by, they would have everything ready to go, and it's unfocused, and then midway through it turns into black and white footage, and the person behind the voice is one of those computerized voices which you type in and it repeats what you just typed in. So this video to me is looking like it's completely fake, phony, and false. This channel right here is a little suspicious because it was just created, and everything does not fit into place, and it doesn't follow the format that the United States government, central bankers, Israel, the coalition forces use when they put out a video. So a lot of this doesn't make sense. Now, we have to think about this whole thing and put the pieces together here. Now, the Islamic State is being pushed back in Syria right now. They're losing the battle against Russia. Now, if we believe the official story that this is a terrorist group, why in the world, what would be their motive at this point in time to shoot down a Russian plane? Because this would not help them whatsoever. Because if you believe the official story that this is a terrorist group and Russia is fighting this terrorist group that has no association with the United States, this would just make it worse for them, because Russia would bring in more forces and really obliterate them completely. It would not make the situation better. And if you look at this in the other viewpoint of the United States is sponsoring the Islamic State, which we know they are, this is a message to Russia from the United States that this is going to get a lot worse. You're destroying our proxy army. You need to stop, and if it doesn't, things will basically escalate. The United States government, central bankers are already bringing troops into the area of Syria and Iraq, even though the president has told us that no, we will have no boots on the ground, which we know this is a completely lie, and he told us this 16 times. So we can see at this point in time who has the real motive to send a message. It is the United States, and during the talks in Vienna, they said the terrorists are not part of the ceasefire, which backed the United States into a corner, because they can't come out and say they must be included in the ceasefire because they're terrorists. And if they did come out and say this, then it would look like the United States is completely backing them and they are supporting them. So it looks like the United States, if this is really a down plane, the United States sent a message to Russia. That's what this is all about, because of Russia being in Syria, messing up their plans in Ukraine. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.